We're actually joined here by Paul Jackson, our CEO, and he can attest to all the work that's going into growing since launch. The three founders, we worked really, really hard to get it up to launch, and now we are just growing our team so we can all work really, really hard to continue growing this thing. But if you're not familiar with Kula, Kula is an impact investment vehicle. We call ourselves a Web 2.5 project, ideally bridging the gap between traditional investment and this new industry called crypto, digital assets, digital investment, digital tokens by real world assets. And we look to identify a community that we can give back to with each investment that we make. So we're currently in the process of building our portfolio of diversified assets. And meanwhile, we are engaging in community. We are, boy, winning awards all around the world and engaging still with investors. At this point, we're engaging with institutional investors. So this company is growing, and you're going to get to sit back and hear updates mainly from our CEO today. But I am also joined by Chen, one of the other co-founders. The third co-founder, Dr. Chris Turner, is on a flight right now. So unfortunately, he won't be able to join us. But like I said, you get to hear from our CEO. And then we will be able to come back and answer questions once the updates are done. So with that, Mr. Jackson, I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to you.
Thank you, Micah, and thank you to everybody that's joining us today. I have the pleasure of it being my second AMA, so I'm slightly newer to this than Micah and Sam. But looking forward to sharing the progress that the Kula team has made. As Micah indicated, the token went live just over a year ago now, but I can reflect back to early in 2026. In January of this year, I sat down with the heads of and some of the wider management team for Kula, and we spent 3 or 4 days strategizing about where we would like to see the project grow. Over 5 years, there was a consensus that we would achieve $500 million of assets under management. And for me, in the 3-year phase, that number sits around $250 million. In only 6 months since that point in time, so much has actually been achieved, and it's all thanks to the Kula team and the community as a whole to basically drive the development of our business. For those that do not know, Kula is quite unique in terms of its regulated group structure. We have a VASP license issued out of Mauritius and overseen by the Mauritius Financial Services Commission. The Kula token was probably the first regulated governance token anywhere on the planet. And we have a unique way of holding all our investments so that they are protected. That underpinned our core business model, impact investment. Those 2 words, they are at the center of everything that we are doing. For those that have seen, we launched our impact dashboard a couple of weeks ago. This is revolutionary for us. Each of our regional DAO projects, when we are onboarding them, we assess them in terms of their financial viability, but equally as important is the impact that those projects will have over a number of core metrics that are aligned to UN SDGs and informed by IRS Plus. You will see anybody can go on to our website and look at our impact dashboards, and for project that we're supporting, Enzi, you will see the metrics and how that business is performing. Now, what is all that data? Well, some of that data is actually real time. It is harnessed from IoT devices within the bikes of the business and then pushed to our database and relayed and disclosed for everybody to see. Some of that information is uploaded on a weekly, monthly, and quarterly basis, but a lot of it is live. As we expand and we look forward, we will work with the rest of our projects to bring those online. And over time, this database will expand, and all our members will be able to see real-time performance on an impact basis for all of our projects. Now, in the investment space, that's quite unique. A lot of data, particularly, is either historically out of date, and there is the question around validity of that data, how it is collected, how it is relayed, how it is reported. So we are receiving live data and live from and direct from our projects. Now, if we come back to, as I indicated, and Micah said, we're an impact investment vehicle. Stage two for Kula is actually going to be to expand this in terms of the investment performance. So in the second half of 2026, Kula will be looking at bringing online the financial performance for the project as a whole. But at a regional DAO level, we will share the investment and financial performance of the projects. We obviously have to be a little bit careful because that type of data is very, very sensitive. These are private businesses that we are investing into, but with all good corporate governance, audited financial statement, and timely financial reporting, it underpins the credibility of a project, both at a regional DAO, but also at a Kula level. So this is one of the deliverables that we're working on behind the scenes to basically share with all the community members as we go forward. The technology that created the main Kula token has been expanded over the intervening period. For those that are very familiar with the Web3 space, Kula, I believe on Friday, lodged 6 Ethereum requests for comments into the community. So this is an amazing achievement by the Tech Guild to basically do that. But the question is, why have we done that? Well, our unique regulated structure not only underpins what we do on the impact investment vertical, but Kula is entering the tokenization space. Probably about a month or two ago now, there was a paper released by Kula where it talks about 4 different levels of tokenization, and with the aim of trying to standardize and provide clarity around how a tokenization project is understood, what it delivers, and what rights and benefits it brings to those that participate in those projects. Kula, I'm going to be very pragmatic here, and in my belief, we will be able to offer the gold standard of tokenization. It's called title tokenization. The Tech Guild, through their hard work and the ERCs that they've lodged, will allow us to offer, in my belief, the gold standard in tokenization to projects going forward. Now, this is not a change in our business model. It is an evolution. It is the same technology. It is the same group structure that underpins the impact investment vertical. We're now evolving and having a second vertical that we can offer to interested parties. Now, there are numbers quoted everywhere. So, but if you let's take 1.5 trillion for impact investment. That marketplace is huge. The numbers quoted for tokenizations are colossal, 13 trillion. Now, whether it's 13, 11, 10, 3, huge numbers. The only way that those numbers will be achieved is if institutional capital starts entering this space. Most people can understand that these institutions, that the complexity in which they operate, they themselves have regulated frameworks. They are only going to start the flow of capital at that scale into projects that have robust ecosystems and the technology and the regulatory oversight to support that. Kula sits at the lovely crossroads of both impact investment and tokenization, and offers a combined service to both. How does that benefit all the token holders, you might say? Well, on the tokenization space, when we offer this project or this solution to potential clients, we will receive fiat income for the delivery of the project and take a stake in the tokens that are produced. Well, for our treasury, that obviously provides cash in the short term, medium-term annuity growth from the underlying project that we had, and these support the long-term capital growth on the impact investment side. So from a financial model, the evolution of what Kula is now offering caters to multiple different investor types, and we believe it will provide a really robust model that is now scalable. If I come back to my discussions with the team in January, the main takeaway for us and how we structured this quite succinctly was we are building the foundations. Any construction, any engineer, anybody that owns a house, lives in a house, understands the fundamentals of solid foundations. You can't grow and you can't scale if the underpinnings of what you are building on is questionable. We now have the technological foundations, we have the regulatory structure, and more importantly, we have the financial and people foundations in order to basically scale the project for Kula and the whole community. It's a very exciting time for what we have achieved. So, as Micah indicated, we've basically been recognized globally in terms of media coverage and awards. We have advanced the technology, we have evolved our business model, and basically we now have our impact and management framework up, running and live, ready to scale across the existing regional DAOs in which we participate, and then grow and diversify into their investment reporting as well. What does the pipeline look like for us? Well, Kula's in a very interesting position in that we have 13 projects, various stages of due diligence, covering basically 5 continents, 6 different industry sectors, and with amounting to circa about $32 million. Now, at our stage of growth, we are transitioning from a startup phase into a growth phase. For me, that lovely growth model that we have, we were basically, because we've built the foundations, we can now start to scale, and we will grow that over the coming 18 months as we transition forward. Any good portfolio needs to be diversified. Our target market for what we are aiming at, the investment size is going to be between $1 and $5 million. Anything beyond that, we end up with what's called concentration risk, i.e., any potential loss, it will have a huge impact on us. Nobody wants to lose money at all, but obviously in our phase, it's even more important. Internally, Ed, our head of investments, has basically drafted our mandate for us, targeting projects with an annualized return of between 25 and 35%. These are all based on a risk-free rate with a risk premium based on the country of operation. But the traction that we are seeing in the impact investment world is huge. I don't want to say that these projects are small. They are not. $1 to $5 million is a lot of money. But we are being approached for what I am calling strategic projects. These range from $25 million and up. Now, at this moment in time, they are outside of our capability to fund in totality. And this is where the board of directors and myself are working to onboard 4 strategic investment partners who will not only take a position with Kula directly, but will then support us with these strategic projects. Kula will, per its investment mandate, take a position between $1 and $5 million. And then on top of that, these strategic investment partners will potentially look to support the expansion of these projects. This is where our group structure again comes into place, because we will own our stake directly and then administer the other shareholdings for our partners as well through our group structure. So it's a great scalable opportunity for us. These projects, as I mentioned, 5 continents, 6 different industry sectors at a very high level, all coming on already onboarded. We've got some exciting developments for how we onboard projects. I'm not going to leave you with that little teaser, because the Tech Guild and the Investment Guild are working on that behind the scenes, but probably in the next month or so, you'll see a release about how we are using technology to leverage the sophistication for how projects around the world are basically being onboarded. So that's quite exciting. Supporting our regulatory positioning, ISO 27001, the team, legal, compliance, finance, every single guild is working behind the scenes to get us up to this globally recognized standard. It's one of these items where it underpins the seriousness of what Kula is delivering and how we take our regulatory position. For us, when we have to basically go through due diligence, working with institutional clients that are looking to invest in us, it is these types of pieces of work which may not seem very glamorous, but they are critical to how Kula will succeed, and we will hit and achieve our aspirational targets. So thank you to all the hard work that is going ahead behind those scenes. As I indicated earlier, title tokenization, critical for projects that are looking to deploy capital and institutions to enter that space. There's a huge market here, and we are one of only a small handful of entities that offer this level of compliance and technology to the wider market. We are, as some of you will have seen, we've entered a proof of concept with Lionheart Capital to undertake our first tokenization project. That's progressing exceptionally well with most of the legal documentation, the regulatory setup, and the technological build well advanced. And the good thing is that utilizing what we will do is utilize the ERCs that have been proposed to the wider community as a whole to deliver this over the next quarter. Very exciting times to have that proof of concept up running, and that will be a showcase for how, in our belief, tokenization should be delivered on a global basis for all projects going forward. What's happening talking about going forward, what else is on the horizon for H2? Partner ecosystem. As I mentioned, we're looking to secure 3 or 4, or actually 4 strategic investment partners. Those discussions are very well advanced, but we're also looking to do that on the tokenization standpoint. There is no denying it is a very complex proposition to create this from scratch. Kula has already been approached to basically support other institutions with how they tokenize. And there is a lot of synergy between entities that already have solid pipelines of either projects or capital that is waiting to be deployed into tokenization projects, and we can support them given our standpoint. This allows projects to come to market in a far faster time frame than trying to deliver it yourself. And given where we stand as one of the few globally that can do this, it will be, in my belief, a very strong offering to parties around the world. I've talked about the pipeline on the impact investment side. We have one in the wings ready to announce once we have dotted I's and crossed T's on the necessary agreements. And I'm just going to refer down to Ed's analysis here already so I can state accurately. Those to be deployed in Q3, 5 projects, 15 million, Q4, 4 projects for basically 17 million. So the timeframes are locked. He's clearly managed those, and those discussions are happening with the various parties around the world. The team, they have excelled this year. I cannot thank them highly enough for what they have actually delivered. As I mentioned, I keep coming back to January. In all reality, one of our team, their first day was that meeting in January. They literally came on and met the other heads of alongside me. That was their first day. They have all excelled, and I thank them from the bottom of my heart for their continued expertise, support, and how they challenge and push the project forward. I also thank the community members. There's a huge community of Kula followers, both token holders on the social media platforms. They're the ones that generate the interest, like, subscribe, follow, and promote, share our social media. And that's a big part of our ecosystem. Um, I've also got some news on the central exchange front. So there's some news coming to you guys in due course. Again, I won't say anything more than that, but uh, uh, work has very been very far advanced on that side. So end of July, early August, keep your eyes peeled, please, ladies and gentlemen, for that. On that note, I'm going to hand it back to Micah and Sam to see if they'd like to share anything more specific from their side, and then potentially we can open it up to the Q&A for today.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. I appreciate your summary uh, on so many topics. A couple of things I think I'd like to probably just share my view a little bit. One is on the impact dashboard. Um, Not only is it live, like you mentioned, Paul, of many of the data feeds, they're also on the blockchain. So, that I think in that sense, in this case, in particular, more than the immutability aspect of the blockchain usage, it's really the transparency that is doing the heavy lifting here. So once the impact data is on chain, anybody can go and see it, and that is way more uh, advanced than, for example, an impact report, like many of the companies will make at the end of the year. A very beautiful PDF, but it's sitting in the PDF format, and it's not accessible really to anyone on the planet. So Kula is doing it a couple of steps above and beyond. And then another topic I want to touch upon is tokenization. Title tokenization is really a step forward. If you look at the space of tokenization, many projects only do it at the asset level. And then once tokenized, it's literally just a record sitting on chain. And then perhaps it's fractionalized as well. So wrap that NFT with many ERC20 tokens, and then you get to kind of access it in a fractional manner. But then it's like self-custody. There's really no regulatory body registries that's backing it. But Kula goes once again above and beyond that. So it is supported by a regulatory body that can back that work up. And at the code level, it is a unit where we can kind of swap, right? So we're not limited to one jurisdiction. We can host many jurisdictions that want to participate in title tokenization. So this is a standard that is bigger than Kula, and I think it is, like you mentioned, a gold standard for many projects to come. Anything else you want to add, Micah?
Yeah, I'm going to take about 2 minutes here and uh, talk to all the people on my level. Because just looking through the list of our attendees, I know we've got um, a lot of early investors in Kula that they don't understand crypto, let alone tokenization. So I just want to take 2 minutes and just help people understand what a lot of this means. We can talk tokenization, we can talk ERC all day, and a lot of times that gets lost on our audience, or sometimes it gets lost on our audience. And so ERC is basically just a token standard. It basically explains what the token's capabilities are. And tokenization, one of my favorite metaphors is like if you go to a restaurant and you utilize their coat check, that restaurant gives you a ticket in exchange for your coat. And once you're done with your meal, you go give that ticket back to your back for your coat. You've essentially tokenized your coat, but only inside of that restaurant. And if you walk outside of that restaurant, that ticket means nothing. Uh, Really, the early days of tokenization is kind of that essentially is this like this tokenized agreement between two parties that inside of those parties and under that agreement everybody understands what that token it belongs to. But what Kula has done has taken it extra steps to where title tokenization proves out in many different ways, proves out ownership over an asset. And so you can take that ticket anywhere, even outside of the restaurant, and people understand that you now own that coat. Now, that's just a really brief layman's term over what we're doing. And currently in the industry, there's no token standard. There's no ERC, Ethereum standard, for what this new tokenization process needs. So Kula is now in the process of establishing those standards. We are well under the way of establishing that standard, and that's going to be, and in fact, multiple new standards that Kula is bringing to the industry, so that we prove out ownership of tokenization. So I hope that helps some people, and you can deep dive and rabbit hole this for a long, long time, but that's the most basic elementary explanation of what tokenization is and how Kula is really revolutionizing it in the industry. So with that, actually, there's a question that's popped up regarding tokenization and white labeling our platform. The question states, if Kula sells or partners with others in its technology, will that go into the equity of Kula? And I assume by equity, they mean into the treasury of Kula. So Paul, you can go ahead with that one. I'll let you take it.
I assume the same thing, Micah, when the question refers to the equity of Kula. The simple answer is yes. As I indicated, our evolution into the tokenization space has utilized the technology that was already in place for the main Kula token. As Micah and Sam further enhanced, we have evolved those standards to make them even more robust. But when we present a project and deliver a project for a client, the royal we, Kula, will get paid for delivering that service, and that, whether it's fiat or a share of their tokens that we produce, will end up in the Kula treasury. That over time, as you can imagine, will grow and expand. So if we increase our fiat or our cash balances then we can decide what to do with that. Do we reinvest that to expand our ecosystem? Do we select and to put that into a new investment regional DAO project? On the token side, at some point, we will have to make the decision what to do with them. Let's assume that a project's token increases in value, just as we aspire to. At some point, we may decide to sell out of our position. That creates cash. We can then choose what to do with that. But fundamentally, both the fiat payment and the token payment will underpin the wider Kula token value, because it sits within the treasury, is controlled by the token holders, and we can choose how we utilize that going forward. And so for me, this over time, as we scale up, I'm looking to achieve $500 million of direct investments on the impact investment side. How much we will oversee and manage on the tokenization side could be as big, if not more. So, very exciting time for our evolution of the business model.
Excellent.
Paul, based off of what you just said, though, like, that goes back to a point that you raised earlier, diversification, right? Because we can choose not to sell out our position. I mean, if a company's doing well and we get to own, part of their token, why not holding it? But then once we start owning that in our treasury, we could potentially imagine that we own a basket of multiple different types of token, and each and every one of them is like represent a different class of asset and on the planet, different locations, different all the stuff on the periodic table you can imagine, right? So like that's the beauty of diversification. And I think that's the part where Kula token is based off of its value.
Yeah, and that's just another example of how our community members get to vote.
Yeah,
When it can be submitted to the organization of whether or not we sell out a position of or sell out a token that we're holding for with a partner company, whatever it may
yeah,
be. That's where our DAO gets to vote
yeah,
and decide on different procedures. So
yeah,
For me, I can see a point in the future where the central exchanges that are acting as secondary markets for these tokenization projects will get to the stage where they offer the likes of Lombard loans in this way that some brokers do on stock exchange and traded equities. So again, rather as Sam has indicated, rather than making a binary decision about hold or sell, we might actually borrow against it so that we actually then deploy that collateral through another project or etc. There's a whole raft of options available to Kula as we grow, but we come back to the fundamentals. This is only possible with all the hard work that has gone in over the last 4 years, but really even more so in the last 18 months as we are stepping out of the startup phase into this growth phase. So it's very, very good for me to see this.
great. Well, the next question is on the impact investment side. If you find a good small company to invest in, do they get Kula tokens or fiat to grow their company? And well, we do all of our capital injections with fiat so far. That's not something we haven't made any investments with Kula tokens. There may be incentives in contracts and things like that, but currently it's just been done with fiat. Paul, you can talk about maybe down the road how that might change or evolve, but
Certainly. I think coming back to or linking to the point I just made around using it as collateral, we can basically invest Cooler tokens into a company and they can borrow against it on their balance sheet rather than it being on our balance sheet. Sorry, I'm throwing terms around because I'm an accountant, so apologies for that, ladies and gentlemen. But as Mike has indicated, yes, for now, fiat, we take our equity positions via fiat, but going forwards, we have a lot of options to us. One of which is in our tokenomics, there is 13% available for community participation where we are working with the likes of advisors, people from the tech guild, creative designers. We have and we can continue to basically pay for their services through tokens. Some people are very forward looking and will happily take 100% of their remuneration in Kula tokens because they understand where our project is going and see the actual growth that will be achieved from it. So For those that are here and looking to support us on a wider scale, if you're able to provide professional services, whether it's tech, finance, HR, any side, there is the opportunity to be remunerated through Kula tokens directly.
If I may, I'd like to add a couple things to the using Kula token as an investment. I think there are two probably upside to this. One is Kula token, might appreciate in value, right? So if somebody accepts the Kula token as part of the investment, they're holding it, then they're kind of tapping into that upside possibility. And the second thing is collateralization. Uh, that part is really interesting because anything that can be used as a collateral needs the whole intrinsic value. And that's, once again, where the basket of, diversified assets sitting in Kula Treasury will come in to play. That will bring the value for Kula, which then can be used as a collateral. And then usually in the blockchain space, once somebody use any kind of token as collateral, what they get in terms of borrow against that is stablecoin, right? So that's where our VASP license could potentially come in to help. That might be something we can talk about on the next AMA once we found out more from our regulator how our license could help in the stablecoin space. So more like a topic that buried here that could lead into something bigger a little bit later.
Question: How easy is it now versus 6 months ago to engage institutional investors into considering deploying capital into the Kula ecosystem? I would say an awful lot easier on a multiple of fronts. We have an award-winning communications team. Awards received at the end of June, collected by Micah on behalf of Rachel and her team. But that has allowed us to position our communication to both sectors. As we referenced earlier, Kula is a Web 2.5. We have one foot in each camp. But we are able to position our communication to both areas very, very succinctly. On the Web 2 front, these institutional clients, as we talked about earlier, require certain degrees of comfort, regulation, compliance, governance, everything that is at the heart of Kula we can offer them. With us now showcasing our impact dashboard, there is huge traction on that side. We are working as part of our ecosystem. We have a regulated company in Luxembourg, and we offer an alternative investment fund. For those that are interested, you can reach out to our socials to get the details. You must approach that entity specifically to get information from them. It's available to professional and institutional clients. But what that does in the alternative investment fund is it allows institutional clients that have what I would call an established trading ecosystem that can buy and sell funds very, very easy and custody them very, very easily, access to the underlying Kula token far easier than, and more importantly, in a way that meets their internal risk preferences. Not all institutions are comfortable holding, custodying tokens directly. So This alternative investment fund acts as a vehicle for institutions that love our impact investment model, want to get access to the technological upsides of tokenization, and yet are not ready to actually custody and hold tokens themselves. So for us, and from my side, amazing communications over the 6 month time. We have a social community campaign launching in September that will push this across various fronts and take things to an even higher level. And so I'm very excited about seeing that come online in late Q3, early Q4. But from my side, it's a far stronger proposition for institutional investors because they're very savvy. They understand where global markets are heading, the need for impact investing, and they see and know that basically they have to access tokenization. And with Kula offering the gold standard, it becomes a very easy conversation to have. When and what is our next investment?
The $1 million question.
The $1 million question. Again, I'm going to have to be a little bit obtuse here. Again, what I can tell you is that the agreement is sitting to the right in my inbox. It's been reviewed by our legal team, reviewed by their legal team. It's waiting for my sign off before I push it forward to the board of directors for sign off. So it's well advanced. So what I can indicate is that it's in the communications sector and covers 2 continents, North America and Africa.
Very good. The next question says, as Kula continues to grow, what will be the biggest challenge over the next 12 months? Scaling technology, expanding the investment pipeline, or driving community participation? And I say yes.
All of the above.
Yeah, D, all of the above. No, it is just we're a young company. And anytime you talk scaling a young company, no matter what category it is, it's always a challenge. And then you put a company that is blazing new trails, setting new industry standards, and all of these things are going to have their own very unique obstacles. So, I mean, even driving community engagement and participation in a down crypto market, that's an extra layer of challenge that frankly every crypto project is facing, even Bitcoin at this point. So we are a young company, we are a growing company, so all of these are going to be challenges. But like I said, we have really fortunate circumstances. I mean, even just the team that has been built since the beginning of this year is a team built of industry leaders. The heads of that Paul has brought on since the beginning of the year are all just remarkable individuals. Their CVs, their resumes are just extraordinary. And so we mitigate a lot of these challenges by really placing incredible heads of our department. We're calling them heads of just because we're so young. We are really basically making it mandatory that people work for us for some time before they get an executive title or a C-suite title. And so heads of insert department here is kind of the title that we've given them during this time. And our heads of have just been absolutely extraordinary. Their network, they've opened us up to their networks. The experience and the expertise that they've brought into the team has just been unmatched. And so while we will face challenges, a lot of the challenges are mitigated just because of the heads up that we've brought on in the last 7 months.
I'll
You
expand
know,
on that. Sorry, go on, Sam.
sorry, one thing that I was going to modify my answer about all of the above real quick is perhaps this question describes like a flywheel. So it's not like here's a multiple choice, right? Because like when you say scaling technology, for us, our tech is multiple layers, and by expanding it, we can then like kind of make sure our ecosystem grows, and therefore we have the capacity to expand into our investment pipeline, and therefore do it again. So I think that's kind of probably what I meant by all of the above. Uh, Back to you, Paul.
For me, it's priorities, priority, and having the clarity around where we can go. We have a finite amount of resources, whether it's capital, human, manpower, time. We have to be very selective around where we put our focus, and that is where uh, the team are excelling. They know what each of them need to do to deliver Kula to the next level. As we enter this growth phase, as we scale, I trust them completely, and it's actually a joy to work alongside them because realistically, I'm just giving them a little bit of direction in order for them to take things to the next level. But in terms of this question, it is that it's so easy to get lost, as Micah indicated, in an up and coming market with up and coming technology. You can very, very quickly disappear down a path that actually does not deliver return to the wider project. And that is almost my job, is to actually say no, because there's so many great ideas there, but we've got to be crystal clear on what we are delivering to the wider project. The next question. Does the Luxembourg Alternative Investment Fund have their own market makers or their own Kula holdings, or does the fund transact with the current available markets when the buy-sell order comes in? Uh, Very good question. It has the option to transact and purchase Kula tokens in two ways. It can either do a private sale direct to our treasury, or it can basically purchase tokens through its institutional accounts with the central exchanges. So the latter is where you will see increased volume and trading activity coming forward as we basically start raising capital through that medium. We will then push a proportion of that, and this is where it actually sits with the fund administrators and the managers of that institution to decide how much gets pushed through the central exchanges. But you will see an uptake in volume coming forward from that client going forwards. So it's a very, very exciting development for our ecosystem as a whole. Not only do we attract capital from institutional clients, but basically we provide additional liquidity and volume into the markets for retail customers that have holdings directly with central exchanges.
And then apparently my metaphor was not good enough. So maybe you gents can chime in. Can you give another coat ticket, quote unquote, coat ticket example for how investments made then equate to Kula token value later?
Yes,
I
yes, I
think
can.
this might be mixed up.
I think
Little,
it's, yeah,
yeah.
uh, mixed metaphor. But I think, yes, ultimately on the tokenization standpoint, when we deliver a project, say we get paid $500,000 of fiat and the equivalent of $1 million of tokens, both will pass through to the Kula treasury, and thus the Kula treasury increases in value by 1.5 million. How that affects the market price, it will prorated increase it based on that example. As you can see, $1.5 million. It's a lot of money. Will it have a material impact on the wider Kula ecosystem? Maybe not. In the short term, potentially. Long term, maybe not. We do this 100 times, and we have raised 100 million of tokens and 50 million of fiat. It has a very, very material impact on the Kula treasury and the Kula market price and token value. As I mentioned, the technology that allows us to do this is already in place. We will obviously have to incur costs to deliver the project, but where we are using third parties for legal advice, those costs act as disbursements. We do not bear that cost. The project bears that cost. Kula gets the 500,000 and 1 million for our fees after all the disbursements are incurred in order to go live with it. So it's a huge evolution of our financial business model. With its scaling, as I mentioned, we're in this growth phase, slow, steady, and then we will literally accelerate to the sky as we get traction across both the impact investment front and the tokenization front. So I hope that helps answer your question.
The process of the 500K fiat and the 1 mil of the token as payment might be a bit more complicated as we actually implement this business model so that we are completely legal and legitimate under our regulation. But I think the idea is definitely there. But I think for the code ticket, by the way, Micah, I really like that code ticket example, the metaphor. Part of it is because like NFT, like a few years back, NFT is like super hot, right? Oh, it's like you're buying a piece of the art, and it's like a, non-fungible token. And what does that even mean? It's a receipt, right? It's like the code ticket. You don't really own the code. It's not like somebody tore off a part of their code and give it to you. I mean, you have that receipt saying you own that code. So once you like claim it, you return it, you claim your code back. So I think in this case, it's more like, well, we can turn your code into a ticket for you, and that process tokenization. But then every time we do so, we kind of keep a little corner of the receipt. And
Right.
like Paul said, we do 100 times. That's 100 little corners of a bunch of different receipts that represent, a bunch of different codes, right? So that's how, and then we put in the box, and that box has holds a bunch of corners of receipts. So, and that'll be our treasury, or part of.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah, yeah. But how we really do that is actually will be a lot more complicated than that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're just looking for a simplified way for some of our non-technical community members to understand exactly what we're doing. So, well, with that, I think we've cleaned the slate of questions. So, well done, gents. Paul,
Good.
thank you for your great time today and great explanation and updates of where we're at as a company. And we look forward to doing this here in another couple months. So, thanks all for attending. And unless you guys have anything else to add, I hope
No,
everyone has a great day, and we'll see you next time.
thank you to the community. Thank you.